Welcome to another 360 show. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. As of now, as I speak, Punjab Kings will be playing later on today, so buckle up for that one. There's something special in the show, so hang tight. I will introduce that very, very soon. Guys, what happened this last weekend? It was my wedding anniversary. Well, actually on Monday, but the weekend we celebrated it. It's still busy with the kids around, so I had to really plan accordingly. That's why we did the live on Friday, by the way, so that I could get a bit of special time with my wife. We went away to a place called the Cradle Boutique Hotel. It is a very special place, not far away from Pretoria. It's called the Cradle of Humankind. Go and read up on it. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but we had a great time. A 90-minute spa session I went through. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was expecting like 30 minutes to maybe 60 max. It's quite a long time for a guy that likes to be active, to lie down on a massage bed and get a massage. I'm not complaining. It was a lot of fun. We had a fantastic dinner that evening on Saturday. Sunday morning, a beautiful breakfast, eggs Benedict, my stock standard go-to when I'm feeling good about myself. A little bit of cheating on the weekend. That's all right sometimes to keep that balance. But it is a new week. It is a new show. And on the weekend, we'll quickly touch base with regards to RCB's fantastic win. Virat in the runs again. Parikal, the match win, in my opinion. Obviously, Duffy got the man of the match, but Devdutt Parikal really was the game changer with regards to momentum. And once again, we alluded to that. Those kind of players take a lot of pressure off guys like Virat and some of the senior members in that side, knowing that they are not the only ones expected to inject a bit of momentum. Also, Mumbai Indians, good win for them. There was this poll on there about Ryan Rickleton and Quinton de Kock and who should be playing. Rickleton sort of answering that. But Quinny will be right there, ready to roll whenever he gets an opportunity. I almost feel like those two are such quality players. It's a shame having to have one sit out, but that is the IPL for you, and that's what the commentator said. Harsha summed it up really well, saying that Rickleton getting the first nod because he was with MI last year. So Quinny coming in, yes, he is an old boy from MI, but just sort of doing the right thing, MI, giving Rickleton the first go at it. He didn't have a bad season. Start with him. If it doesn't go too well, Quinny can always come in. Or maybe there's room for both of them. I would like to hear what you guys think. What is happening on FanCode, guys? As you know, live sport from all over the world. Such an incredible platform. Download the FanCode app right now, not to miss anything. There's Formula One, guys. Kimi Antonelli. We spoke about that youngster coming through, breaking through. And just what a great start to his career. The youngest to top the driver's standings after a second win in as many races. This one in Japan. Phenomenal start. Can he keep it up? We'll wait to see. There are lots of quality drivers right behind him. And trust me, mark my words, there's always a curveball or two. But there's definitely a lot of skill, a lot of talent, perseverance in this youngster. And it's great to see. It's good for the sport. There's plenty of football, international friendlies going on. I'm disappointed about that because I like to play my fantasy league and there's a break until the 10th of April. So it's been frustrating, but it's great to watch international football. Brazil against Croatia, such great players there. Vinny Rapinha missed the game due to injuries, but it gives more people a chance to prove they belong in the World Cup squad. So it's in that kind of phase with the World Cup lurking, and we spoke about this prior to the T20 World Cup of cricket as well. We spoke about squad building. And that's what these international sides are going through right now. There's also La Liga on FanCode, guys. Lots of fantastic sport. Atlético Madrid and Barcelona. It's a big one. It's not Barca and Real, but still Atlético Madrid, a really good team this year. That's on the 4th of April, so do not miss that. Download the FanCode app right now, guys. Catch the action on the app. Do not miss out. I've warned you about this. Great, great sport from right around the world. Now to the special part of the show. Some of you guessed it right. It is none other than Ricky Ponting. I did a great interview with him. I've actually still got my notes on here. Let me show you guys. There it is. Ricky Ponting. It's all over my laptop at the back here. Just to have the notes in the background to make sure I don't lose track with such important interviews. He was one of my role models growing up. I was lucky enough to play against him and also now to call him a friend. I hope you guys enjoy this chat. Let me know what you think. Good day, mate.
G'day, buddy. How you doing, mate?
I'm very good, and you? Thanks so much for your time. I'm not going to keep you for long.
I've had to take the whole day off training just to fit your podcast in. So
I hope I make it worth your time. Start off by delving a bit deeper into your past, and I want to immediately start off by the Aussie culture in the 90s and the 2000s. Obviously, a massive winning culture. Just tell us a little bit about the mindset back then and how it's different now. I mean, you the coach of an IPL team. What are the differences of that Aussie team back in the day and what you find now with the modern day players?
Well, I think it's a really good question. I think that's part of what I'm sort of still trying to keep around a modern group of players. I mean, the game's obviously vastly different. It's a lot more professional now. There's a lot more media and social media around the game now than ever before. Players are swapping back and forward from different formats of the game almost on a daily and sometimes weekly, monthly basis. But I guess culture-wise, and what I'm trying to ensure is that even the modern group of players that I'm sort of working with here have got a bit of an idea of what team culture is all about, and that's what probably the hardest thing to bring to franchise cricket. Really, when you're coming in for a short period of time, a majority of your players, as your overseas guys only arrive a few days before the tournament starts. So when you're trying to create a real team environment and a real team culture, that's probably the hardest thing to do. The great part of the success that we had back in Australian cricket, back when when I was playing, was just how close we were as a group and how well we understood each other and how much we trusted each other and how much fun we had playing together. So that's what I'm sort of trying to bring to this franchise and almost starting from scratch last year, really. Me starting here at a new team and only retaining the two young Indian players and sort of being able to, or trying to sort of rebuild a whole team and a whole group from the bottom up. A lot of that was based around a lot of the learnings that I had from the great teams that I played in playing for Australia. And, when I was captain, I was always thinking about other people first and trying to find ways to make, my teammates and people around me that bit better. So when you step into a coaching role, that's the number one philosophy I have is always looking out before you look in and making sure that you're paying attention to everybody on a very even and equal basis. And that makes it a lot of fun. The individual preparation side of the game now is probably a lot different than what it was when you and I were coming through. It was all about going down, doing the team training. You get there at the same time, you all warm up together, you all go to the nets together, you all do your nets for 15 minutes. Well, it's completely different than that now. You've got staggered training times. You've got guys that want throwdowns. You've got guys that want to face bowlers. You've got guys that want to face spinners only. So we're trying to work out and accommodate to make everyone's individual preparation as good as it can be to fit into that team is a great challenge, but something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. What about big players or big egos, whatever you want to call it, Pano? Back in the day, I think, well, you say you guys were really close, but you did have some huge, iconic players in that team in the Aussies back in the day. And I guess you are sitting with a similar situation at the IPL. How did you deal with that back in the 90s, early 2000s compared to now?
To be honest, AB, didn't really need to worry about it around the Australian team. Yes, there were egos there, but once you crossed the line, they were out there with the same reason that I was out there. We're out to do what we could to win games of cricket for Australia. I mean, I must admit it. When I took over as captain and you're captaining Warne, you're captaining McGrath, you're captaining Gilchrist. I'm not saying that Gilchrist or any of these guys had big egos. The way it used to work in the Australian team was 2 days out from a series starting, then one of the main players would go up and do the media. So that'd be a Warne or it'd be a McGrath. And then obviously the day before it was me as captain going up to stand in front of the media. And quite often I had to pick up the pieces from what those guys had to say the day before about how good they were going to be and how good the series was going to go. But the biggest part of captaincy, leadership, coaching, whatever it is just understanding the personalities of the people that you've got around you and knowing how to deal with them, knowing how to communicate well with them. And, with Warne and McGrath and those guys, I just had to know what I had to do and what I had to say to manage them the best way that I could and get the best out of them. And quite often with guys like that, and I'm sure you would have had some of those guys around South African teams that you played in. So quite often you just let them go and let them be themselves until the point came where you knew you had to step in and just, get on top of some things. But, very rarely did that happen. A lot of our guys played right on the edge. And that was, I think, why Australia and South Africa had so many great battles through the years that I think both teams sort of played on the edge and played to do whatever they could to win games for their countries. So, look, I enjoyed that side of it, to be honest. I enjoyed the mix of personalities and in the Australian team, and also right now. Some of these, the Indian players that you have now are just, iconic superstars of the game that are almost, held in such a high regard over here in India, and they carry themselves that way. But so you've got the Shreyas Iyer on one end, and you've got someone like Prab Simran on the other, who's a really quiet, unassuming young lad that's just a highly talented young player. Whereas he can pretty much go out and do whatever he wants. Whereas Shreyas is in a different, he's different altogether. He can't get out and do what he wants. And as you would have saw when you were at RCB with Virat, they just live in a completely different world than most players, and that's what this IPL has become. It's just grown and grown into one of the biggest sporting events on the world calendar.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Virat, because it immediately makes me think of competitiveness. And once again, with your group back in the day, there was just this incredible clarity under pressure, and also almost as well an aggressive approach at the same time. Can competitiveness be a weakness? And also, is it something you are born with, or do you work at it throughout your career?
That's probably a question for every different individual, but I think I was certainly born with it. I was very much, brought up on the wrong side of the tracks. I'm not sure if that's a saying that you're accustomed to in South Africa, but, nothing for me ever came easy in my life. I was living in housing commission homes when I was playing cricket for Australia. So, talk about competition. If I got an opportunity to do something, then it was going to take someone pretty special to try and take something away from me. So I was born with that side of it. I think our system in Australia breeds that as well. Just having the 6 state teams, you've got to be a competitive natured person to get a game of state cricket, let alone play for your country. So I think it is born into us as Australians, and certainly even here in India with the sheer weight of population. You've seen what it's like. They are competing against each other, even sometimes in the same team and the same squad. They're competing against each other all the time just for that one opportunity. So look, I love that, and it's one thing I talk about with our training all the time as well. Like I want guys to go to practice and actually compete against one another, because I like to see that, even if it gets a little bit out of control, where guys are going back and forth at each other. I love seeing that, because I think if you can train that way, you can take that into a game. And some guys thrive on that. Some guys like to stay away from that, that sort of one-on-one confrontational sort of style of play. But, the teams that I grew up in, that's how I learnt to play the game. And certainly now as a coach, that's one thing that I try and bring to the team as a coach as well.
Quickly about Punjab Kings then, on that note, in 2024, they missed the playoffs. You came in first up, made it to the final. Culturally and structurally, what did you have to change there? Was there a lot of things you had to work on, or did it come quite naturally?
Probably like you, AB, I'd heard a lot of things about this franchise from the outside, and getting to know the owners, getting to know the management. I spoke to a lot of players that had been here in the past, and the first thing I did, even before I accepted the job, was to get all the the owners, all the current management on the phone and talk them through what my vision for what this team I wanted it to be going forward. I think it took a little while maybe to break down some of those barriers and for everyone to sort of understand and listen to the way that I wanted things to be. But and I think even if you look back to the auction strategy, it was pretty clear of the vision that I had and where I wanted to go. And I wanted things to be different and fresh and dynamic around this franchise. And so just keeping the 2 uncapped Indian boys going into the mega auction with Prab Simran and Shashank, and going in with the biggest purse gave me an opportunity to try and rebuild the team. And I think the only way you can really rebuild IPL teams is having the right core Indian players in your setup, and that was the one thing that I was really conscious of. I just think so much of the T20 game, I believe, comes down to captaincy. I think captaincy, as far as results concerned, is probably worth 60 or 70% of what of winning games of cricket. So going into that auction, I wanted to make sure I had the right captain, and obviously with Shreyas, as someone I've worked with for a long time at Delhi, I felt that he was almost at the peak of his powers as far as his batting was concerned as well. And so trying to rebuild, he was a key pillar for me there. Arshdeep was another key pillar. Yuzi Chahal was another key pillar. Our scouts have done a lot of work to give me the opportunity to almost to hand pick young talent that I wanted to pick to move to sort of mix in around the experienced guys that I had, because the great teams that I've played in, whether it was for Australia or great teams that I've coached, have always had a really good balance of youth and experience. And I think when you get the balance right between that, the youthfulness that comes out, sometimes the unscarred youth, if you like, that haven't got the mental issues that other senior players might have from failing, they tend to push the older blokes on, and then the older blokes, when they're out in the middle in the heat of battle, have got the ability to pass on the knowledge and experience to the young guys when it matters most out in the middle. And the senior players end up becoming the best coaches. I've always said that. I can be a great coach, but once the game starts and you're out in the middle, it's the senior guys and the players that are out there that get the job done for you. So yeah, there were some barriers that need to be broken down, but the owners, everyone here were terrific from the moment that I accepted the job. They've really sat back and let this be my team. Now that this team is together and we're one season in, which was a successful season without being a great season. Like I don't classify anything as being a great season until you win something. I mean, we had a good season last year, but not quite good enough. So, like every team right here and now going into this IPL, we're chasing becoming a great team, and that's one motto that we'll have right the way through this season, and hopefully we can go that one step further.
That loose term everyone throws around, team culture, and I don't know how you build a team culture in here, but you seem to have achieved that. But I guess if I listened correctly, you sounded like you were saying it's more of a natural thing if you get the right balance of players together. Because looking from the outside, it seemed like one of your strengths last season is that culture you created. A lot of guys popped out of nowhere performing, and you can only do that in a healthy team environment. So you're saying that's something that comes naturally if you get the right kind of individuals together?
I think if you've got the right people in an organisation, things happen quicker. It was really important for us. Things had to happen quickly, right? Like we had to be different. Right from the start of the tournament, we couldn't wait. 2 or 3 games in before things started to move. You can't do that in an IPL. We needed to have the culture, the direction, the way that we wanted to play. All of that needed to be ready. 10 days out from the first game, and it was one thing I worked really hard. And when you go into an auction as well, it's sometimes not all about the most highly skilled player. When you're trying to create an environment, you take all those things into account. The right people. I'm a big believer in having the right people in the right place at the right time if you're trying to create and make change, and that was what we were really conscious of. And we think we've done that. We think we've put a really good, tight group of people together. Not just the players. I'm talking about everyone. That's staff. That's everyone that's involved in this franchise, from the captain to the guys that look after our bags. I treat everyone exactly the same, and I communicate with everyone exactly the same. And I think when you're able to do that, and your captain's able to do that, and your senior players are able to do that, then cultural shift can happen really quickly. But it only takes 1 or 2 people that want to get in the way and disrupt, and things take longer to eventuate. And we haven't got that here. So, and already, I had breakfast with the captain again this morning, and we sat down. We talked about a lot of things this morning, and he thinks already that he's got a better feel again. He thinks the synergy amongst this group is even better now than it was at the start of last season. And we only made the 4 changes. We've only two new overseas players, 3 changes. Praveen Dubey back in, so we've only got really 3 changes from last year's squad. So hopefully onwards and upwards, and we believe that we've got a squad that's well balanced and highly, most importantly, highly skilled enough to win an IPL.
I saw something on social media yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard you doing a team chat saying the tournament doesn't start now. When did I hear that right, first of all? And secondly, when does this tournament start? Is it with the first game, or is it a couple of days out? What do you believe in that regard?
No, it's the first game. And the reason I said that, AB, you know how some of these Indian boys train. They overtrain. They train too much. And when I arrive, they try and impress. So, they're all pushing for that spot. They want to show you how good they are. And I don't want them to be overcooked for the first game. I want them to feel like they're fresh and a little bit underdone, if anything, going in to game 1, because the teams that win the IPL are the teams that have got their best players playing the best at the back end of the tournament. I mean, that's not saying that you can afford to start slowly, but there's got to be some sort of constant build up. The last thing you want is injuries and I think, and if you look at last year's final, you look at RCB. I mean, they had Hazelwood, and their better players were all actually performing at their peak at the back end. So when I said the tournament doesn't start now, the tournament for us starts on the 31st, and when we come up against Gujarat, that's when the tournament starts. So that was all about just telling the boys just to put the handbrake on a little bit, be conscious of over preparing and wasting all your great shots in the nets. I don't want that. I don't want players to be great trainers. I want them to get themselves prepared. I want them to be great match players and to get themselves ready to play a game of cricket.
If we rewind quickly to that 2025 final against RCB, the fact that you came up just short, what would you point out in that final? Was it a gap of skill, experience, perhaps small moments?
I think, you've played so many games of they come down to very small moments, right? I think we were probably just, once we lost a couple of wickets in that run chase early on, I think we just got a little bit tentative, which we hadn't done for the whole tournament. The big thing about the way that we played our cricket certainly with our uncapped Indian batsmen, was just how fearless they were and willing to take the game on, and always were willing to do what the team needed them to do in that moment. And I think we probably just got a little bit safe for 2 overs, and you can't do that. You get safe in the T20 game and you try and rebuild the game, moves on really quickly, and all of a sudden you go from, needing 10 and over to needing 13 and over to needing 14 and over, and the game slips away quickly. And that's probably just a situation that we got ourselves into, probably just on the back of a little bit of experience. So, we're 12 months down the track, and I think the individuals, and I've heard some of them talk about it, and that, that's off their own bat, getting out there and talking about that moment and where they probably weren't at their absolute best, but they know that they'll be better come this season. So even though we lost that final, it was one of the most rewarding seasons I think I've ever had in cricket, to be honest, to be able to, get a team that hadn't qualified for such a long period of time to play the brand of cricket. That's the thing that I was most excited about. And you wouldn't have seen it from afar, but at the start of our season, we had really good crowds at our home games. At the end of the season, there were thousands of people that couldn't get into the ground. And that was what, I was most excited about. And everyone was talking about the Punjab Kings and the way they were playing their cricket. So that was something that I was proud of. And I know the players are really proud of. And once again, though, that's something that we've got to continue on with and build on and be better at again this year, because every team's going to be better. Every team's going to be sitting around their team room now saying, yep, this is a better squad than we had last year. We're better prepared than we were last year. So we're no different. It's about getting out there and putting a stamp on the tournament as early as we can.
Punter, thanks for your time. All the very best with 2026. I wish you guys well, and hopefully all the way. But maybe another RCB final. Who knows? We'll see.
I'd love that, mate. Good on you. Thanks.
As you could see, I had a lot of fun over there. I allowed Ricky to speak. He's got such great knowledge and insight about the game of cricket, about life. He's been through a lot from the start. He grew up following his dad's footsteps, grew up in a cricket club, basically. He had these dreams to play for Australia one day. And, well, did he do a good job or not? Won a few World Cups, dominated Test cricket for many years, one of the best batters to ever play the game. What a fantastic human being on top of it all. Just humble and open to talk about cricket, making time for me. I feel honestly privileged to have had him on there for 25 odd minutes. And I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. There's many more to come, guys. And the nice thing about this YouTube channel, about the 360 show, it's all in the archives. You can always go back and go through some of the interviews. Some are great, some are not so good. Some I felt comfortable with, some not so much. But I felt like this Ricky Ponting interview was one of my highlights of my my YouTubing career. One of the highlights of the 360 show, there's no doubt about it. We now go to the CommsBox. Before I get to that, I wanted to let you guys in on the questions that we pick during the week for the recorded show. It's more of a basic, what's the word I'm looking for? A random hand-picked questions, a bit more natural, a bit more to do with life and different kind of stuff. It's not so intense. Where with regards to the 360 lives over the weekend, it's more cricket direct, more analysis of games, more about the players, about the strategies, the field placings, and so forth. So I wanted to let you guys know what I do during the week with regards to the questions that we pick compared to the weekends. Anyway, here's the first one. What should a youngster do to increase his longevity in Test cricket? Can we see players completing 10,000 runs or 500 wickets in Test in the future? If so, who do you think will do that? Very good question, and a tricky one because of the scheduling and the fixtures and all the franchise leagues happening around the world. Once again, it's up to the administrators, the admin guys, the guys who make the decisions to get the balance right between Test cricket, ODIs, T20s, and franchise leagues. It's not easy, guys, because everyone wants a piece of the pie. And when it comes to numbers, something that I'm not very fond of and not ever really gave a lot of time to, getting to a number of 10,000. Who decided that 10,000 is the important number? What about 12,000? What about 8? Who cares? As long as a youngster, I feel, is sort of clear with what he wants to achieve, if he's got good management and advice from the top, and if he's well looked after and driven to want to represent his country first of all, and then wherever he goes to have fun and to be part of teams and try and impact them in a positive manner. I wouldn't put a number to it, guys, but it's a good question when it comes to numbers. For those of you who find it very important, it's unlikely that we're going to get guys to get the Tendulkar numbers and the Ponting numbers one day, except for if you're a Joe Root to decide to focus a lot more on Test cricket. But I was never that kind of player. I just wanted to play cricket as much as I could, wherever I could, and tried to manage that at the back end of my career, which I could have done better. But it's even more complicated now for youngsters to decide what is important to me. Is it ODIs, Test cricket, T20s, franchise leagues, and how much of what am I going to play? In my opinion, still national cricket for your country should be the most important thing. But in that bubble, you can still manage it. You don't have to play every single game. You can sort of focus or get a bit more focused on what kind of direction you want to follow, depending on if you are stronger with the longer format or the shortest format. Good question. We'll maybe talk a little bit about that more in the future. Thanks for that. A wonderful interview. Being his father's cricketing colleague in local cricket, I've watched him from his school days, where his potential clearly emerged, and it was only a question of time until he rubbed shoulders with the giants. Oh, it's such a cool story, this. And I'm glad you took the time to put this out here. Thank you so much. It should have sustained and continued for a longer period, but unfortunately didn't. He was always a man of few words, and his transition to cricket commentary is truly amazing. And I fully agree with that. Reminds me a bit of the great Shane Warne as well, the late Shane Warne, and we'll forever miss him. And I think the two of them were great friends. But similar with Warne, his commentary was so good. As a cricket player and a cricket lover, I would hang on his lips just listening to what he had to say about the game. And same with Ricky Ponting. When he speaks, you listen. And there's a short piece on Instagram, go look it up, where David Warner mentioned something about he didn't want to take on the risk with a certain shot, and Ponting stopped him in his tracks and said, if that is your focus, you're not going to be successful. You should be thinking of how you're going to score runs and not how you're going to fail. And that was his mindset during his playing days. And it's just such a privilege to have an interview with him and also to hear him speak on television about games of cricket, and also for him to be a coach of Punjab Kings. What a great asset for young players and someone to learn from. Oh my goodness, I think I got it wrong. This is not for the Ricky Ponting interview. Sorry, I'm confused because I'm recording this and the Ponting interview just went out with this show. So I should have known this is about Abhi and our interview together. It is on the archives, guys. So on YouTube. So go check it out. Go watch the interview again. Abhinav Mukund, and we are talking about his dad here, and such a beautiful story. So just great. Sundar Muthuswamy, thank you very much for taking your time out to write about Abhi's dad. Such a cool story. And I think Ponting had a similar story. So we can actually take this question for both Ricky and Abhi. But yeah, what a great interview. I had a lot of fun with him. He's got great knowledge about the game of cricket, about Chennai in particular. I actually saw his predictions, the top 4 to make the knockouts, and quite interesting. Go check it out on Instagram as well. A lot of cricket legends and commentators put out their predictions, and I'll maybe use the live this coming weekend to put out my 4. Let me know down below in the comments who you guys think will qualify for the 2026 IPL season knockout stages. 4 teams. I'll share my 4 this coming weekend. All right, last but not least, AB, I request you to give your bat to me, please. Well, if you're on Instagram, it's not going to be a bat, but the bat competition will be held soon. I will be giving away 360 cricket equipment in the near future. There will be more competitions on there. I already ran one not so long ago, but there's a new one on Instagram right now. and it is the 360 clothing range that I launched with Old School. Go check out my Instagram handle, and you'll get the instructions of exactly what to do to win that prize. Guys, that comes to an end. All good things comes to an end, rather. Conclusion of the 360 show this week. I'll see you guys this coming weekend. I've plans to go to the farm for Easter with the family and friends. So it will be a little bit tricky, but I will update you exactly on when I will be going live. So stay tuned to that. Hit that bell notification to make sure that you don't miss it. Like, share, and subscribe to the show. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you guys on the weekend. Bye now. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I read the name Sundar Muthuswamy or whatever, and I thought that's quite weird, but it's maybe just an Indian guy that played cricket in Australia and got to know his dad. And I'm like, sorry, obviously, still okay.